The question of the place of the ghettos in the development of the final solution is a very important and interesting one. And the problem is that many times we look at it from today's perspective, when we see all the different steps, and then we say, well, in the beginning there were those regulations, and then there was the ghettos, and then there was a mass murder. But we have to understand that this is something that we see and know today. And when we look at the development during the Holocaust itself, things looked a little bit different. First of all, we have to remember that there was no German order for the establishment of the ghettos, which means that were many ghettos which were established in different times, in different places, and in different manners. And we can find places in which the ghetto was established at the end of 1939 and other places in Poland. I'm not talking about Hungary or Romania, in which ghettos were established even in 1944, but within occupied Poland, in territories that were occupied in 1939, in which the ghetto was established only in 1941 or even in 1943. So we have here many different kinds of ghettos. And understanding their place in the final solution is quite complicated. When we look today at those processes and those ghettos which were established, we can say, well, this was just one step toward the final solution. We have the concentration of the Jews here, separating them from the other population. And this was just one step toward the mass murder of them in different sites. Now, but things were much more complicated because when the ghetto were established, nobody talked about the mass murder yet. So nobody knew what will those entail, those final goals will be in the future. And one of the important things that we have to remember is that, first of all, the ghettos were a means of separation of the Jews from the population, from the local population, from the Polish population in the case of Poland. Which means economic connections, social connection, and many other things. And in some places, there is a ghetto established with walls or with fence or anything else. And in other places, there are only signs or regulations that provide Jews from going to the streets in this or that hour. But one of the important impact of the establishment of the ghetto was the fact that so much property of the Jews were taken through this process of ghettoization. And this is very important because it wasn't a goal stated in any regulation, because as said, there's no one order of the establishment of the ghettos, but the property that was left out of the ghetto was used not only by the Germans, but also by the Polish society. I mean, I'm not talking only of the flats, but also of the furnitures and the businesses and many other things. And it is a tool that was used for discriminating the Jews and separating them in this unequal victimhood that we mentioned, as well as in a way of controlling what happened with those Jews in a very concentrated way. So when we look from today, from a historical perspective, we can say that it was one important stage within the development of the final solution. But this was nothing planned. It's not that Nazi Germany said, okay, we want to murder the Jews in Auschwitz or in other killing sites, so let's concentrate them in the ghettos first. First of all, the ghettos were established in a mean of separation of the Jews, controlling them, and it brought many benefits, economical and other, to the Germans as well as sometimes to the local population. And then later, those concentrations were used by Nazi Germany as another important stage of the final solution, and in a way that those Jews can be sent from those ghettos to their death.